Welcome back, friends, to my next worm video. Um, so yeah, as you see, this is the feeding I did on bin 1 back on 22 April. Kicking right into it and looking at where the worms are where I last fed last week. And as you see, there's a good amount of worms hanging out the corner right there. This is where I did the blended food, and this video is showing the results of all the blended food that I did in the previous feeding, and then I'm going to feed blended food one more time in this video, and we'll see the results of that one as well. You can see a good amount of undigested food. It almost looks like carrot cake, which makes sense because a lot of what was in that blended food was shredded carrots. And I think, as I've mentioned before, carrots are not one of the worm favorites. There's a lot of other stuff that the worms prefer over the carrots. So here's a video of that last feeding that I mentioned. I had that Ziploc baggie of a bunch of blended food, and I did about half of it last time. And the very next one's going to be another half, which you'll see in a moment. So I just went ahead and reburied that stuff after it was mixed, so the worms can finish doing that the next 7 days, as they also get at what I feed on the right here in a moment. You can see a good amount of worms on the right hand side as well, though, even though I fed on the left hand side previously. You can see it looks like there's like a mesh of worms, just like all over. You grab a ball of dirt or I don't know what to call it, dirt, unfinished compost, and there's just worms just like crisscrossed all through it. There's worms everywhere. It's really nice to see. So I add a fair amount of shredded cardboard because I'm worried about the extra moisture that's in here as a result of the water that I added to blend the food. And although I did add all that shredded cardboard, next time I open this bin up, as you'll see in a moment when we cut to the next video, it was still very, very wet. So I actually did add even more on the next feeding to try to dry it out a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and cover this bin up now, and we will move on to the next feeding. Which you'll see that I did here on 29th of April. And it was 7 days. We go ahead and police up all this covering, and then we'll start digging into it. On this one, I actually started digging into the left-hand side. I had forgot where I previously fed. For some reason, I thought I had previously fed on the left-hand side, and I was really surprised digging here. I was like, where is all of the food? Because there was a good amount of leftover food last time I did this. Where's the leftover food this time? And not until after I was done recording, or actually after I dug in the right-hand side and I realized that's where I actually fed, did I realize that. But as I do dig through this left-hand side where I did not feed previously, you really don't see any food there. So it's good to know that 14 days later, all that food really does get eaten up out of, beyond recognition. So I did feed on the right-hand side. I mean, as you saw in the video, as it showed, I did not accidentally flip the bin around and disorient myself. So you'll see in this, as I examine the right-hand side of the bin, this is the first of many worm parties, or worm balls, or I don't know what you want to call it, that we'll see. Really high concentration of worms kind of grouping together, and it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see all that. There is a lot of undigested food still left on the right hand side, but not anything that I'm actually over concerned about, because there's so many worms in here and they're doing such a good job of eating everything I'm giving it. I'm really confident that even though I still see a lot of food left over, they're going to eat all of this. They're going to keep going after it. I am considering turning this bin stop. I'm considering to stop feeding this bin so I can harvest castings. I think that this feeding that you'll see here in a moment will be the last feeding that I do for this bin. And as I mentioned earlier, see multiple worm balls. This is the last one that I'll show you. And maybe this might be one of the best ones I've ever seen. That's not just a few worms on top. That is just like a thick ball of worms, as you'll see as I put it down and I try to roll it around. Really, really cool. Really cool to see. So like I said, I'm really confident in these worms I feel like the population's fairly high in here to eat all the food that I'm giving to it. This feeding that you see, all that stuff that I put in there first, that is onions and mushroom stems and carrots that I used to make a vegetable stock out of. And then after I was done, I took all the solid stuff that remained and drained it, and then froze it and put it into my worm food bag. And then obviously you saw the cantaloupe there as well. And I added a bunch of shredded cardboard this time because I noticed how wet particularly wet this bin was, even wetter than normal. So yeah, I think this is going to be the last feeding I do for this bin. And I will check on it again in a week. And probably what I'll do is just kind of rifle everything up, take a look, see where the food is. I'm sure there's going to be some leftover food. I'll kind of rummage through it, spread it out, air it out. But I'm not going to add any food next week. And then we'll start getting to a point where we can harvest castings out of here. That's about it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'm just a lowly little YouTuber, so it really makes me feel good when you like it. So if you can, leave a like, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.